Welcome everyone, and it's great that you're considering to serve your community as an elected member. As Arthur said earlier, it's a really worthwhile commitment, so that's great. Tonight in my presentation we're going to discuss what you can expect if you are successful in your candidacy for election to the local government. So I'm really going to go into the role of an elected member. We're just going to quickly go through a few things: roles and responsibilities, meetings of council, declarations of interest, impacts on your home life, frequently asked questions, and a little bit on training and induction. Before I get underway, local government is really important. So this is a quick snapshot of what the state looks like. There's 139 local governments with 1,222 elected members, representing the state of WA. 22,000 people work in local government. It spends $4.2 billion per year, and most importantly has assets of $48 billion a year. So really important sector. Just a little bit of background on where local government sits. So there are 3 spheres of government in Australia: 1 federal, 8 state and territories, and there's 537 separate local governments. And because local governments make decisions that are closest to your community, it's considered the grassroots form of government. Providing for a system of local government is a, is a residual power of the states, and for this reason there is no mention of local government in the Australian Constitution. The power to make legislation relating to local government is found in the West Australian Constitution Act. So Section 52 of the Act requires the state to provide legislation for local government and provide it with relevant powers. So therefore it's said that local government's a creature of the state. Looking at legislation in WA, the Local Government Act 1995 is the legislation created by State Parliament to provide for the system of local government. And local governments are created as body corporates with perpetual succession and a common seal, and they're run by elected councils. The Act is created, The Act is created under general competence powers. So this means a local government can make whatever decisions it believes is required to provide good government for the people of its district, as long as it doesn't conflict with other legislation or common law. Local government provides a diverse range of services, generally falling under the general headings of people, property and regulatory services. And as a consequence of state legislation amounting to approximately 80 acts of Parliament and hundreds of associated regulations, local governments must perform certain functions and provide particular services. So I'm not sure if you can read on the screen there: town planning, building, waste collection, local roads. Those things listed there a local government has to provide. However, there's lots more that a local government can provide under using the general competence power principle. So, sport and recreation facilities, home and community care, public libraries. The list will go on for as much as a council thinks their community needs. I'm now just going to quickly look at the roles and responsibilities. So we'll look at the separate roles of a councillor, the mayor, and the council, and also the chief executive officer. And then we'll see how it all comes together. So the Act states that the role of the council is to govern the local government's affairs, and that is responsible for the performance of the local government's functions. And furthermore, it's to oversee the allocation of the local government's finances and resources, as well as determining its policies. So the council has the responsibility to ensure the appropriate structure for administering the local government, but importantly it is the council who is the employer of the CEO. However, the council has no further role with regard to other employees of the local government. So we'll just look at the role of councillors here. So the Local Government Act clearly prescribes the role of a councillor. It's to represent the interests of the community, provide leadership and guidance, facilitate communication and make decisions. It's noticeable here, but the councillors have no individual powers. It's the power of the council. Quickly looking at the role of the mayoral president. So first, why is it a mayoral president? There's no difference between the role of a mayor or a president. The Local Government Act states that the shires have presidents and towns or cities have mayors. The Local Government Act then prescribes the role of the president, and as listed on the screen there, it presides at council meetings, provides leadership and guidance, carries out civic and ceremonial duties. It's the spokesperson for the local government. And right down the bottom, F, really important, that the mayor liaises with the CEO on the local government's affairs and the performance of its functions. Now we quickly look at the functions of the Chief Executive Officer. Busy role, there's lots on the screen there. The functions of the CEO are separate but complementary to the functions of the council. So as can be seen there, the functions relate to the administrative purpose of the local government. The CEO is the principal advisor to the council, implements the council's decisions, manages the day-to-day operations, and is the employing authority of all the local government employees. Sorry, I'll go back one. And again, just wanting to note item E, which was the same as the mayor has, the CEO liaises with the mayor president. All good? Just looking now, Arthur did mention the separation of roles and functions. I'll quickly just show you this slide on that. So the representative decision-making body of the council performs a separate role to the apolitical professional administration that provides the impartial advice and guidance. This arrangement mirrors the Westminster system at the state and federal level. So as we can see on your left, individual elected members don't have any powers. Council is the strategic decision maker that plans the needs of the community, creating strategic community plans and monitoring its implementation, allocating the resources, and making decisions at the legally convened meetings. Sorry, I'm clicking too quickly. And on the right-hand side, you see, sorry, I did that in reverse, didn't I? The administration is on the other side, where we're carrying out the administrative functions for the local government and implementing the decisions. So although there's a distinct separation of powers, separation of functions between the council and the administration, great reliance is placed on the ability of each part of the local government to work cooperatively with their functional boundaries to progress the interests of the community and provide for good governance of your district. Touching on board-like behaviour, it's recognised there's similarities between a council and a board, which can be seen there on the screen with the structure and resources. But being board-like in your behaviour can assist you in developing a trustful, respective and constructive relationship with fellow elected members. There's certainly some differences between councils and boards that are important to understand. Councils are democratically elected and do not have shareholders or members. Instead, they have electors, ratepayers and residents. And as with the board, elected members must observe the law, principally the roles, responsibilities and functions that we're going through tonight. This slide here, sorry, going back. Nose in, fingers out. NIFO is a well-known acronym to anyone experienced working with boards. It means nose in, ask questions, be inquisitive. Fingers out, do not interfere in the operational matters or the CEO's functions. It's a useful principle for elected members to remember and abide by. There is consequences to an elected member not observing those rules with our rules of conduct regulations. If you are elected to council, the first duty you will perform will be the signing of this declaration before you can commence your role as elected member. This is really important. By signing this declaration, you have committed to represent all the people in the entire district and pledge your loyalty to the future of your local government, of the City of Canning. It also references the rules of conduct regulations, so I'll have a quick look at that for you. The declaration requires that you observe the local government rules of conduct regulations, so you need to know what's in these regulations. The following, it looks at standards of general behaviour, use of information, securing unauthorised advantage or disadvantage, misuse of resource, as we mentioned before, prohibition against involvement in administration. So rules of conduct regulations, if you're elected, are worth reading because it governs your behaviour. Quickly look at meetings of council and the rules associated with your meetings and how decisions are made. Councils, consist of democratically elected representatives who represent the community, provide leadership and guidance and facilitate communication between the community and the council. The important work of a council occurs at the formal meetings where legally binding decisions are made, and the Mayor presides at the council meetings. The ordinary meetings of council are convened at least monthly. Arthur set out the meeting schedule for you a little bit earlier. The council will look at issues such as policy and strategy, dealing with development applications, major projects, annual budget and financial management reports, and the real range and scope and delivery of services, and monitors performance and compliance. The Local Government Act sets out some important aspects relating to council meetings. For example, you must attend meetings and may be disqualified for failing to do so. You need to have a quorum, so at least half the number of officers of the council need to turn up to a meeting. You must vote. You can't decide not to vote unless you've got a financial interest. And the presiding member, if there's a tied vote, must use a casting vote. And also a council must provide public question time. In respect to understanding the rules, local governments have standing orders, local law or meeting procedures. The City of Canning certainly has that, and that follows how the council meeting is carried out. So that is another really, really important document that elected members need to read. So there's two really important documents that I've gone through tonight: the rules of conduct regulations and the standing orders that govern how a meeting runs. Quickly looking at council meeting skills, so a number of things contribute to councillors successfully participating in meetings. You need to be prepared, do all your reading, be across the budget and financial management reports, join in the debate, be an objective decision maker. We always say prepare to influence others, but more importantly, be prepared to be influenced yourself and listen to others' opinions. I'm not going to do that. Quickly looking at privilege, there's no relevant comparison between the rights of a Member of Parliament and an elected member of a council. Therefore, great care must be taken when making statements at a council meeting or in relation to the affairs of the local government. As a general guide, councillors should make every effort to ensure the statements they make are factual, accurate, made in good faith and not made maliciously, so that you can't be impunged to give rise to detriment, as that'll leave you open to defamation or a breach of the rules of conduct regulations. A council member can only rely on the defence of qualified privilege whilst properly discharging his or her duties under the Local Government Act. Quickly looking at declarations of interest. This is things you might have to declare interest for. So there's three types of categories of declaration of interest. There's a direct financial interest, and there's a subset of that called an indirect financial interest. There's proximity interest, and there's impartiality interest. So I'm quickly going to go through these. So a person is likely to have a financial interest if a matter is to be dealt with by the local government will result in a financial gain, loss, benefit or detriment to that person. This is the indirect financial interest, which is a subset. This can be established by showing that you or a person with whom you're closely associated has a financial relationship with a person or organisation requiring a local government decision. And the Local Government Act will provide a definition of a closely associated person. Then there's proximity interest. So a person has a proximity interest in a matter if the matter concerns a proposed change to a planning scheme affecting land that adjoins the person's land, or a proposed change to the zoning or use of land that adjoins that person's land, or a proposed development that adjoins the land. So any land adjoining, you'll have a proximity interest. And then the final interest is the impartiality interest. So as on the screen, impartiality interest means an interest that could or could reasonably be perceived to adversely affect the impartiality of the person having the interest. It includes an interest arising out of kinship, friendship or membership of an association. Just having a look at the consequences of those. So if you declare a financial, an indirect financial or a proximity interest, you will not be able to participate in the decision-making process of council in any way. If you declare an impartiality interest, you will be able to participate in the debate and you can vote on the matter. So impartiality interest is declaring that you could have a friendship or something, or you could be a member of a club, but you can still participate. This is a slide we like to show. Due to the importance of your office as a councillor and the commitment you make to your community, it's often stated that an elected member cannot wear two hats where the business of local government is concerned. So during your term, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you're going to be an elected member. You can't pick and choose when to take that hat off. So when you speak publicly, always remember that you are a councillor. I've got to hurry up, Arthur. Quickly go through impacts on home life. Now, I'm not wanting to put you all off, but there are some things with all the amount of work. So you'll have fewer evenings at home, less time for your normal recreation and hobbies, and you might get interrupted a fair bit. So is it just a bit of commitment? So that can often be seen as the downside to being an elected member, but there's good stuff. You know, you can meet the challenges through commitment and effort. You contribute to the development of your local government. You know, it's a privilege of representing the interests of your community. You're going to make important decisions and you'll feel a sense of achievement. So I think the good outweighs the bad. I quickly tonight also wanted to quickly highlight social media, the growing influence of social media as a means of communications. So many elected members maintain a social media presence and do so appropriately and effectively. They do this by refraining from making negative or denigrating personal comments about any aspect of their role on council. Keep in mind our early advice that you're always a councillor for the term of your office and you can't wear two hats. So you just need to be careful what you post on social media. Again, yeah, just be careful of avoid the red stuff and just use it appropriately. I'm going to quickly, Arthur's already answered, do elected members get paid and what you get paid, so I'll give that a miss. Must I live in a ward to run for election for that ward? No, you don't have to live in the same ward. You must be an elector of the district for stand for council, regardless of whether it's a ward election or a district election. And as Arthur mentioned before, once you are on the council, you'll be making decisions for the entire district. I think we've been through that. Is it true that elected members cannot contact staff directly, for example, to ask them to deal with a particular problem? And Arthur mentioned quite correctly that elected members are required to follow established protocols. So it's finding out what your protocol is at the local government. This has been covered by Luke and Chris, so I don't need to do that. Luke has also and I would just encourage people to take part in this research project. It's really good to get information as to why people want to nominate for council and then be an elected member. Luke mentioned that there is going to be, there's 5 training courses that you are required to complete in your first 12 months. They're not onerous, and they're the essential courses to give you an understanding of being an elected member. So there's understanding local government, conflicts of interest. Those bottom 2, are just electronic. There's serving on council, which talks about roles and responsibilities, understanding financial reports and meeting procedures. And so they just need to be completed in the first 12 months, and the City of Canning will help you through that. There's plenty of resources around once you're an elected member. The most, obviously we're at WALGA's there, the Department of Local Government is there for you, but most importantly you've got CEO and senior staff and your fellow elected members at your city who are worth talking to find out information. The first, stage 1 was the initial training, but if you really wanted to get a diploma in being an elected member, you can, and you can progress and learn more. And that's it. Any quick questions? We're good. Very much.
No, that's fine, Tony. Thank you very much. There's a lot covered.